is accurate.
Yeah, ask the Fed Haters Club.
I will say that. Okay, so
is this a Schwartz competition?
Aside from Spaceballs, we're having a new feud between Elon Musk and President Donald Trump over the big, beautiful bill, which is still not passed in the Senate. It looks like they may have just gotten the votes to pass it, and maybe it's going to be getting passed here pretty soon. But we did have sort of a break.
And we probably know the House is just going to lockstep pass it as well. So whatever version the Senate creates.
They did take out that AI memorandum on the states, like banning states from regulating AI.
Oh, so now Marjorie Taylor Greene can vote for it.
So now MTG can vote for it. There are a lot of people that were upset about that, and I did see something come across the screen that they had taken that out in the Senate, and so it looks like I don't see any reason it's not going to pass the House. May or may not hit Trump's July 4th deadline. See, he wants it to be this big thing, for America. It's 4th of July, and he signed this big, beautiful bill, New Day for America, all that stuff. The bill, like all the talk about the bill is super complicated, as we've mentioned several times. This is like episode 20 of talking about this bill, I would say. It is all super complicated. Like you have to decide if you're going to talk about it in the way that the Trump tax cuts, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, was it permanent? And now that we're keeping tax rates where they currently are we saying that adds to the deficit because we're keeping tax rates where they are and not raising them back to where they were in 2017? Because all the numbers that you see assume that we were going to raise tax rates back up to where they were in 2017. And now that we're not going to do that, well, that adds to what the projected deficit was with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expiring. And
clear as mud.
Like that's, Republicans kind of got themselves in this position because you put a temporary dates on the tax cuts. Probably so they could hang it over people's heads to win an election. And also you could say
to whip up the votes,
so they could get votes for it. Because if they would have done it permanently, then they would have seen this giant. Here's what it does to the deficit number, and that would have been less popular.
If the tax raise alone is enough to get most Republicans to vote for this disastrous bill, because their constituents are going to be very mad if their taxes do go up.
Taxes go up. I'm no fan of taxes going up, and so like if you made me choose between the two, although I could make a pretty, I think, reasonable argument for allowing taxes to go back up. I would not I don't want any taxes at all.
What are you?
I'm saying if I wanted to steelman that, I could. And I've mentioned it on the show before. That's not really what I plan on talking about today, but there's an argument, just so you know, that we are hiding the truth of what it costs to run our government from the American people by putting it on their grandchildren's credit card instead. And that is actually helping fuel the growth of the government instead of having people pay for it up front. Like if you went to go pay for something expensive out of your debit card and you saw that money come out of your bank account immediately, that might make you think about it. But instead what we do is we're putting it on a credit card that we know our grandkids are going to have to pay instead, and maybe we'll get a little bit of inflation, on the side, something like that. And that actually leads to more and more government spending. There's an argument to be made that if we allow taxes to go back up, that people would be like, oh, wait, it actually costs money to run this thing. Hold on a second. I don't want to pay more for this stuff, And then maybe the people will be like, okay, maybe the government should spend less money because it turns out my taxes just went up a whole bunch and it's funding all this stupid stuff. I'm not arguing to raise taxes. I'm just saying there is an argument to be made for this. But let's get into the Elon Musk and Trump stuff instead. That'll be more fun to talk about. So Musk, I believe his first post, which you sent me a screenshot of yesterday.
Yes.
The first post was...
and while you start this, I have to run a quick errand.
He says, okay, that's good. Charlie delayed us by 20 minutes, and now he has to leave. All right, here we go. Elon Musk said, it is obvious with the insane spending of this bill, which increases the debt ceiling by a record $5 trillion, that we live in a one-party country, the Porky Pig Party. Time for a new political party that actually cares about the people. And then he says, how can you call yourself the Freedom Caucus if you vote for a debt slavery bill with the biggest debt ceiling increase in history? So he's been, sounds like listening to Rand Paul quite a lot. And in fact, he did repost Rand Paul yesterday as well. He went on one yesterday. Like, I got a bunch of tweets pulled up right now. It's a whole bunch of Elon Musk stuff. Trump is not happy. I'm sure you've seen his response, as well as his potential threats after his response. Another thing he said was every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government spending and then immediately voted for the biggest debt increase in history should hang their head in shame, and they will lose their primary next year if it is the last thing I do on this earth. That's a pretty big threat there. He's starting to go after in primary anyone who votes for this. He might be successful in a couple of these, but I do think it would be tough, even with a lot of money, to get out some of these people who have been there for a long time. They just have that built-in name recognition. But he's sort of getting it, and it's sort of that meme, you know, it's like, first time, where he says every member of Congress who campaigned on reducing government and then immediately voted completely the opposite of that. Yeah, that's sort of what they do. This time was a little bit more disappointing than it was in the past because we did throw in the idea of Doge this time. And there was a lot of campaigning about the fact that our government was too big and that we had to get rid of the deficit. We had to reduce government spending. We had to stop ourselves from going over the fiscal cliff. And what a lot of politicians, I think, didn't realize, and maybe what Trump maybe didn't realize either, is that you get a guy like Elon Musk in there who comes in and spends somewhere over $200 million. You get a guy like Musk who comes in there and spends that much money, goes out there, campaigns, says all this stuff. He's serious about it. Like, he's not a politician campaigning for office, trying to win people's votes. This is a guy that when he says stuff, especially when it comes to business and all that, like, the things have to happen. And when he says that we're going to go bankrupt, that we're pushing ourselves into debt slavery and we're bankrupting our children and we're destroying our children's future, like, he means it when he says it. So this is the difference in someone who means what he says and someone who says what he thinks will get him votes in an election. And that's where this really big split is right now. Now, on this, we got some good news. And we had, I wouldn't say predicted, but speculated that this could happen in the future. Justin Amash posts on here, please support Thomas Massie. The establishment is working to primary him because he's a genuine fiscal conservative and opposes the big bloated scam. And Elon Musk says, I will. That's pretty good. That's good news right there. That makes me happy. We've talked several times.
This is why I was excited last time.
Yeah.
I mean, to have
I just really wanted stuff to happen now, like in this administration, for things to happen and not, maybe 10, 20 years down the future kind of thing.
But here's the thing. We knew when we voted for Trump, he's always been a big spender. We've said this since the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
That he's not actually a conservative.
We know that.
But now you have the richest man in the world who actually wields some power, at least financially, willing to actually talk about. I mean, the guy's reposted Ron Paul, for God's sakes, Nate.
No, it's a good thing. I'm not
upset
thing. About that.
Yeah,
I'm saying overall I was disappointed because I thought Doge might at least get 250, 500 billion in yearly expenditures out in waste, fraud, and abuse, or just general waste because everything the government does is wasteful.
You thought possibly Elon Musk could convince Trump.
Yeah,
that spending's bad, MK.
Yeah, I thought that they were maybe going to do that. All right, he also says, if this insane spending bill passes, the America Party, which Charlie's wearing the hat, will be formed the next day. Our country needs an alternative to the Democrat-Republican uniparty so that the people actually have a voice. Now, consider this, libertarians, and I hate to be mean to libertarians right now, okay? I'm a member of the Libertarian Mises Caucus. All right, I'm a member of Libertarian Party of Tennessee, like Charlie. America Hat Party is over here as well.
You have another podcast.
Now, there's a third on another podcast. Check it out. Decentralized Revolution. By the way, does not their endorsement of anything that we say during this show, okay, at all. I speak for myself separately.
Oh.
Just so you guys know.
Yeah.
When I'm talking, it's not for them.
This is not financial advice.
No.
This is what you're saying.
This is not party advice right now. But consider this, like the Libertarian Party's been around for like 53 years right now. They did have an election where they got like 3% of the vote. Okay, so that was all right. And instead of just going with the party that actually wants to reduce spending and not have any wars, decrease the size of government, basically doge the hell out of everything, just double doge, triple doge, dare you to decrease your government size. Instead of just saying, you know what, I'm going to start pushing the Libertarian Party. He's like, yeah, I'm going to start my own separate party instead. That's how dysfunctional your shit is. Okay? He took one look at it and said, that's too much. I'd rather send a rocket to Mars than try and organize the Libertarian Party.
Well, it's interesting. He said, if this is the last thing I do on Earth.
Yeah.
So is he going to Mars sooner than expected?
I don't. I think that's probably a figure of speech, more than likely. Now, to be fair, also Elon Musk is not a libertarian, so that might be why he didn't immediately go to the Libertarian Party. He does have some libertarian tendencies, though. So I am surprised that he hasn't shown any indication that he ever once thought of supporting the Libertarian Party. Or running candidates under the Libertarian Party. Maybe that's something that some people should get some talks going on. Just saying that, just call him up. If you're running the party, just call Musk and talk to him. He also says...
Although, here's the thing. You have to think about, like, almost everything Elon Musk does turns into a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, most of the time.
We don't even ever talk about the Boring Company. Because it's boring, one.
They literally have well-oiled machines.
Yeah. But these things, like, Elon has a way of, because he's extremely smart, he has a way and he knows how to put things together to win. And so if he starts a party from scratch, I'm sure the structure will be in a way that will actually make it competitive.
Yeah. Plus, it'd be way easier because for him to come in the LP, he's going to have to change some bylaws, and you do not want to get into that conversation. I don't think he can even manage that. So
he would lose a few $1 billion just wasting his time,
just trying to buy off people blocking the bylaws. And
no, I'm just saying because it would take so much of his time.
Might as well start your own party.
He wouldn't.
Guess, is the thing.
He wouldn't. It would take away from his engineering time.
Do you think starting another party is better than just trying to get? Like, he wants to support Thomas Massie. He's reposting Rand Paul. Do you think it's better to start a third party who's going to have to figure out how to get onto the debate stage, who's going to have to get ballot access around the country, rather than just trying to get the actual Liberty Republicans on the ballot in these primaries? Like, do you think that's better to start the party? All right, we lost Charlie again.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, back to what we were saying previously. The thing is that it might just be easier to start from scratch because of the infighting of the Libertarian Party, like the mess that the Libertarian Party is.
Yeah. The question was, wouldn't it be easier just to get more Thomas Massies into the Republican Party? It's already got ballot access, already got the debate stage. We got Ron Paul, the guy that he's reposting because he ran as a Republican.
Because Republican is too MAGA. No.
Yeah, they're very MAGA.
Yeah, and they care more about loyalty than they do principles.
Could be the case. It'd be better.
But also, look what he's talking about. He said the Democrat-Republican uniparty.
Yeah, he's saying that. He
posted a chart. Yeah.
Posted the chart. They just pretend to be two parties. It's just one uniparty in reality. And this is a chart of the national debt going up every single year. And as you can tell, it doesn't really matter what color the bars are. If you're listening right now, the bars are colored for, blue for Democrat, red for Republican. Doesn't really matter what color the bars are. The debt just keeps going up. Very heavy increase in the debt going up really at the tail end of the George W. Bush years, and then Barack Obama spiked up a lot, and of course the last year of Trump's first term with COVID, and then Biden just said, hold my beer. I can do better than that even. And so, yeah, he's just saying it doesn't matter what party's in charge. It just keeps going up and up. He reposted a Rand Paul video of him talking about the $5 trillion debt ceiling. That's like Rand Paul's big thing right now, which I sort of get. Rand Paul doesn't want the $5 trillion debt ceiling increase in this bill because he essentially wants them to have to fight each time to increase that debt ceiling. He doesn't want like a almost unlimited debt ceiling increase for Republicans while Trump is in office, or at least for the next couple of years, because he's like, if you give them that $5 trillion, they're going to spend that $5 trillion and increase the debt by that much. Clearly, that's why they made it $5 trillion. Rand Paul, by the way, did say yesterday that he was working all night to stop Congress from adding to the debt. He met with J.D. Vance and reiterated his offer to vote for the bill if it included a 90% reduction in the debt ceiling. No earmarks, no handouts, just real fiscal reform. Wasn't looking for favors, wasn't horse trading. I was fighting for the American people and against our out-of-control debt. Bottom line, I offered my vote for fiscal sanity. Congress chose to sell out taxpayers instead. Only once the bill is released will we know what the true price was. So he said he was working all night. That's his one thing is don't do the $5 trillion debt ceiling. Extend it for a few months. And he's made the argument several times. If you just have a debt ceiling vote and like nothing else attached to it in a few months, they're gonna increase it. Okay, but a lot of Democrats are going to vote for it too, because if there's nothing else attached to it, they're going to vote to increase the ceiling, or it'll be their fault that the government shut down. And so they're not going to do that because everyone's scared of that national park gate being locked, and the kids standing outside can't get into the park. So I don't want to do that. Musk posted out a bunch of times, what's the point of a debt ceiling if we keep raising it? All I'm asking is that we don't bankrupt America. Hitting the debt ceiling is the only thing that will actually force the government to cut waste and fraud. That's why the debt ceiling legislation exists. Sort of disagree with him there. Hitting the debt ceiling is the only thing that will force them to increase the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
That's what
well,
they'll do.
It could cause a government shutdown, right? If they're not able to.
Just for some reason, no one wants to be involved in that, you know? I feel like there's a pretty good support for shutting this thing down. I don't know.
I do want to respond to one comment in the Fed Haters Club that's mentioned that loyalty is a principle. And I would disagree with that. I would disagree that loyalty is a principle. Or I would question loyalty to what? To a person?
I mean, I don't have loyalty to a person.
As if like a person can never be wrong.
Yeah.
Like I guess I understand when you're talking about loyalty, honor, integrity.
It is technically a principle.
Yes.
I don't think it's a good principle for people to have with politicians who want your vote and have SWAT teams and shit.
Yeah.
The
problem is the problem is they campaign on one thing. So it's like to be loyal is to be loyal to a lie.
Loyalty is a principle for them too. Are they being loyal to all the stuff that they said on the campaign trail?
No.
Are they being loyal to the American people when they vote to increase the debt?
Are they being honorable?
And keep government spending increasing? They're not loyal.
Do they have integrity?
Those hoes ain't loyal, man.
Exactly. And daddy's home. Yeah. So
let's see. He also posted out, anyone who campaigned on the promise of reducing spending but continues to vote for the biggest debt ceiling increase in history will see their face on this poster in the primary next year. And as an AI-generated thing that says, liar voted to increase America's debt by $5 trillion. And on the bottom, he commented, pants on fire. I made sure I kept that one on there. It's fun. It's pretty fun stuff, I think. Let's see. He reposted Ron Paul's Liberty Report.
Couple times.
Episode from yesterday and a shorter clip saying wise words. Then had a little back and forth with Ron Paul being all chummy and everything. So that's good news. So the thing with the political party, he had posted this poll back in June that said, is it time to create a new political party in America that actually represents the 80% in the middle? I don't agree with this 80% in the middle thing. I don't know what that means. Like, most people do not want to decrease the size of the government. Most people, like by rule, if they did, then we'd be decreasing the size of the government. So I don't know what these 80% of people in the middle are. That's a compromise. That's a compromise position between people that are on the left, Democrats, and people who are on the right, Republicans. And it sounds like I feel like we've already been compromising for the 80% in the middle for quite some time. I don't understand. I don't agree with that really at all. It's sort of that idea that we were talking about earlier. Like,
here's the thing. Here's what I think it is, though. Okay. You have about 25% of the country that votes Democrat, 25% that votes Republican, no matter what, basically. And there's 50% that like don't vote.
Yeah.
Like half the voting population doesn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
Half of them don't get involved. There is a I'm not a Republican or Democrat type of people, and not libertarians either.
So you're saying half of people that don't vote, plus the independents and some other people that end up voting one way or another, I guess. That
I think you have
identify as Republicans.
At least 25% of the non-voting population that you could probably capture with
How has no one captured them yet? You got people offering free stuff left and right, or you got people offering to, deport illegals or to decrease your taxes or to, I don't know, do whatever it is, doge the government or get us in the war, not get us in the war, and like nothing has captured those people.
You make it matter. You make it matter to them.
I think maybe most of those people are just mindless drones that probably shouldn't be voting anyway, so they're fine.
I think you make it matter to them.
How can it not matter? What else needs to happen for it to matter?
Because they can't see it affecting their lives. If you message it to them of how it is affecting their lives, I think they would jump on board. For instance, like you have a bunch of college kids who probably never cared about politics but jumped on board because of student loan forgiveness.
Yeah, that's bad.
I know it's bad, but they captured a block of voting.
I'm saying I think the only way you can capture most of those people is by offering them more of your stuff.
No, you message to them of how they're being affected by bad government policies.
I think there are a lot of people who don't vote because they know the whole system sucks and all these people are just politicians lying one way or the other to get your vote. And maybe if they saw someone real out there, they would show up and vote. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm sure they do exist. I'm sure there's some good people out there that don't vote. That would come out and vote for a real principled candidate. Thomas Massie posted out, interesting thing just happened. This is a Fox News article about Elon Musk indicating he'll donate to Rep. Massie. And Elon Musk responds with, "You're awesome." That's good. Mm-hmm. So this is a thing. This is a thing that's happening right now. And it's a good thing it's a thing because the first poll came out of Kentucky's 4th congressional district. Now, this is just so you know, before you freak out and panic about it, don't turn into any panicans over here. This is a poll of 368 people. Now, it's a very small
5.1% margin of error.
Yeah, it's a large margin of error. It's 368 people. It's a small district, but so I don't know if what that sample rate is out of the population in the district, but it does have a high margin of error for a political poll. You want to look for around 2 to 3%. So they do admit that it has a fairly high margin of error, but even if anything is within 5%, it still is bad. I'm not saying this is that this is what's going to happen, that there's no chance for Massie or anything. I just wanted to point out that Musk coming in to try and help Massie is more important than ever. Because according to the people in his congressional district, at least a poll of 368 of them, do you have a favorable or unfavorable view of Thomas Massie? Favorable is 23%, unfavorable is 62%. 12% of people have no opinion. So currently 62%. Do you have a favorable or unfavorable view of Donald Trump?
Do you trust polling?
Sure, within the margin. I mean, I think they're useful tools. They're definitely off quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just,
hey, I want you to think that Massie's going to lose a seat. I don't think that.
I don't think that he's going to lose. I think it's going to be very close. I don't think it's going to be anything like what we're used to seeing with Massie's people. We've never seen it like this. Of the people polled, 89% have a favorable view of Trump. Only 9% of them have an unfavorable view. 70% of MAGA are MAGA Republicans of the people that were polled. Do you plan to vote to reelect Thomas Massie regardless of who runs against him? 33% said definitely the challenger. 14% say probably challenger. about 19% say definitely Massie or probably Massie, and 34% are uncertain. So there's still, those people can sway one way or another depending on who gets to them first with ads. So that's our first poll out of there. So it's important that Musk is coming in to save the day, hopefully, again.
Unless he gets deported.
Unless he gets deported. Here's our first little look at what Trump had to say.
Late last night, like 11:30.
Truth Social Post. Go ahead, Charlie.
He said, Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. Of course, he's bringing it back. Like deflecting, this is like the Darvo thing. When they deflect, like we've already covered and played video of Elon Musk saying he doesn't care about the EV mandate. Get rid of it. Get rid of all subsidies. But Trump is going to draw your attention to one particular thing to make it look like Elon Musk is upset about this.
No, it's just an outright lie by Trump, and people should be offended by that. He knows it's a lie. Massie knows it's a lie, and anyone else with a brain enough to look into this stuff knows it's a lie as well. Elon Musk definitely knows that this is a lie. This is him deflecting attention from the fact that Musk is saying this is a bad bill because it adds a bunch to our national debt. And that's the bottom line. And Trump does not want to talk about that at all. And so he has to say, well, this is just Elon being jealous about his own little subsidies getting taken away.
Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Who's forcing people to own them right now?
Well, I mean, there were mandates that kicked in the future that they're getting rid of.
Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Go back to your country, is what he's saying. By the way, Elon doesn't get subsidies. Like Elon Musk himself, his companies may get tax breaks or subsidies, but Elon doesn't. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved.
Now, as far as any green energy tax credits or whatever that Tesla has gotten in the past, that's one thing. And Musk has come out several times in favor of getting rid of those things. And we should get rid of those things, and I agree with that. Musk has also said that you should get rid of all energy subsidies and credits and just let people compete in a free market. Not only did they get rid of the green energy tax credits in this bill. Actually, they don't. Some of them phase out by the year 2032, just so you know. They're going to say that they got rid of Biden's Green New scam in the Inflation Reduction Act. They got rid of like half of it, and it doesn't fully phase out until 2032. So we got to make it all the way to then for that to actually phase out.
Would you say 2032?
We can get rid of that. That's one thing. But then they also introduced a new tax on the green energy while also subsidizing the fossil fuel energy. And so they just seem to be completely allergic to anything resembling a free market. And that's annoying. But aside from all of that, what we have are the no more rocket launches satellites. So to call that a subsidy is ridiculous. They got the thing that saved SpaceX was that essentially they got a big contract from the government at a time when things were looking pretty tough. And they got a big contract way back when to keep them afloat. But since then, what you're really talking about is SpaceX getting paid for performing a service for the federal government. And what really bothers me about this stuff is him coming out and pretending like this is going to save the government a bunch of money by not using SpaceX to send things to space.
Which has reduced the cost of space travel by 90%.
That is a completely economic, illiterate lie for Trump to make. And he knows that. And so does Musk, and so does anyone else who has a brain to look into it whatsoever. There is no possible way you save money by going to someone else to do your rocket launches and your satellites unless you just stop having the U.S. government be involved in space whatsoever, which is fine. They should go ahead and do that. That's fine. And if that's how SpaceX loses their government contracts, then that's fine. And I'm sure the government will be just fine when we send people to Mars and we colonize Mars and we make it Ancapistan on Mars, they're not going to win any piece of that whatsoever, I bet. No. That's not
now,
what's going to be at all.
Do you think SpaceX moves to China or Russia?
I don't think they move to China, no.
Or Russia? Well, how else are they going to launch?
I don't think they move to either one of those.
You think they just stop, they cease to exist?
No, I don't think he's going to do, like, there is.
I'm just saying if this played out.
Yeah, if it played out, I think that's where that's why he's working on that oil drilling rig launch pad. You know, remember that story where they're fabricating a launch pad, a floating launch pad for the ships so they can go to international waters and do it. Yeah,
and not be controlled by any entity.
We just got to keep them afloat for enough time to get to the international waters launching, and then we'll be good to go.
There we go.
That'd be awesome. So, I mean, there's no one that's going to run the number. He said perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. That's just an outright lie. Anyone from Doge, which, by the way, they'll probably tell Trump to go F himself since Elon put all those people in place. No one at Doge is going to look at the money that SpaceX is getting paid to launch things and say, oh, yeah, you'll save a lot of money if you go with Boeing instead. No one's going to say that.
Right.
So that's ridiculous. It didn't stop there. Then we got a video over here. Because, God bless. This kind of, I get it. It's Trump. He likes to troll. He likes to make random threats, stuff like that. It really does burn my biscuits, though. Like, and
it's about Elon.
And it makes me like him less and less.
Before you play this, I do see the chat asking about, is Elon principled, or is he just now principled because he got to the top? My thing is I don't care. Like, because I don't care about the person. Right now, Elon is talking about principled things.
Yeah.
And that should be supported.
And he tried to fire a lot of people from the government, and I like that.
Yeah. He's trying. Right now, he's trying. He's the first person with viability to actually come after government spending.
Yeah.
Like, you have someone who could maybe organize enough pushback on the government to actually affect government spending, which is principally liberty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we weren't recording yet when I said, or maybe I did. Yeah, maybe we said it during the show. I don't see Musk as a libertarian, and I don't know how principled he is, other than the fact that I think he is he's principled on the fact that he believes our deficit and our debt is a problem, and that we need to reduce government spending. Yeah.
Also, by the way, I feel the same way about Trump. Like, we still praise Trump when he does a good job.
Sure.
And we talk negatively about him when he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about him. It's about the policies.
It's about what's actually happening.
Yeah. Is Trump maybe a bombastic, narcissistic person? Possibly. It seems that way on several of his actions.
Yeah.
But I really actually don't care about him as a person. You know, there's also been times where he's been extremely generous. It seems like that's a good thing. And most of it's been anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's looking for praise. Now, maybe he's looking for praise in his local circles. I don't know. Anyway, I don't care about Trump as a person. I care about the principles in which he conducts policy. And I care about the policy and how it affects the principles
of liberty. Whether or not it does align with those principles.
Yes.
I don't think there's any principles in
his the reason I don't
policy decisions.
The reason I don't regret my vote, Nate does, but the reason I don't regret my vote is because I agree with Elon Musk that the first problem that needed to be solved was to stop immigration. Because I agree with Musk that the Democrat plan was to keep importing people to where the Democrats just never lose.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to stop that first. And I think that's why Musk pushed so hard for Trump. And now, as they have this policy disagreement or principle disagreement about the path of bankruptcy for America, Elon Musk, of course, is deviating from the person.
Yeah.
And talking about the policy. And I agree with that 100%. I do think if Kamala Harris would have won, it would have been way worse. We may never have seen another.
I still think that right now. You know,
you think Democrats are going to win from here on out after Trump?
No,
is what you're saying?
No, you just said you thought it would have been way worse if Kamala would have won.
Oh, but you regret your vote.
Sure. I regret putting my name behind it. Yeah. I still think Trump is the better outcome out of the two. I still thought that in 2020, I didn't go vote. And I thought that in 2016, I didn't go vote for him. You know, this time I'm just disappointed. I don't want my name behind Elon Musk and sitting back to South Africa to face
he could be going to Alligator Alcatraz.
Could be going there.
From what I've heard from the left, this is definitely...
This is time for Alligator Alcatraz.
This is definitely a concentration camp.
Let's see what we got here with Trump talking about maybe deporting Musk.
The rest. We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about the hostages. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric, maybe a hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up,
Okay, so that was a bunch of babbling nonsense. Honestly, I hadn't listened to that video yet. You get the one little thing where deporting Elon Musk, he says, we'll have to take a look. Okay. So he says, we'll have to take a look. This is the guy in negotiations.
He said, he really said, I don't know.
Yeah. And he's a negotiator. He's not going to take any options off the table. Not going to take any options out. Would I prefer for him to say absolutely not? That's ridiculous. Why would I deport a guy who's just speaking out against a bill that's getting passed in Congress, which has like a 15% approval rate? Yeah. And actually most of the American people don't support this bill either, and he's speaking out against it. Would I rather him say that? Yeah, I'd rather him say that in response, not like, we'll have to take a look at that. That's not really my thing. He goes on about the EV mandate again. Like this is going to work for a lot of people because a lot of people just aren't going to look into it. Like the diehard MAGA supporters who just gobble up every single thing that Trump says.
And they just read headlines.
They just gargle it down. They swallow every single time whatever he gives them, and they're just going to believe it. But Musk has said many, many times that he doesn't want the mandate. He doesn't want the subsidies. This argument has been made. I listen to, stock market podcasts every single day. I watch CNBC show every single day. It's like one of my only daily rotation shows I listen to. They've been saying for years that Tesla would be better off without the EV mandate and without the EV tax credits and subsidies because they are beating out their competition. It is Tesla's competition that needs those tax credits and subsidies to be able to compete with Tesla. Without those, Tesla runs away with it. They've, got a effective, not monopoly, but you guys know what I mean when I use the word monopoly right now. They're not keeping competition out of the market or whatever, but they become, almost the only major seller of EVs.
Because they're the best at it.
Because they're the best, and they found a way to actually be profitable in doing it. And their competition needs those tax credits for people to come and buy their cars. So that entire line of argumentation is a lie designed to deflect from what Musk is actually upset about with the bill, which is what Massie is upset about, which is what Rand Paul is upset about, which is what a lot of libertarians or maybe extreme fiscal hawk Republicans are upset about, and no one wants to talk about it. And by the way, there are so many things that are just, got stripped out of the Senate bill, like, blocking illegal immigrants from getting Medicaid got taken out yesterday. And they're not going to talk about. Don't you think Trump would just be going on like just rant after rant? They're like, oh my God, I can't believe the Senate parliamentarian stripped out this thing that we were going to keep Medicaid from illegal immigrants. They're not going to talk about it.
No, because
they can't say a single damn bad thing about the bill whatsoever. It has to be perfect. Has to be the most glorious thing. Got to sign it on the 4th of July. Doesn't matter what the hell's in it. It's called the Big Beautiful Bill. Sign it on July 4th.
Because the only thing the only thing they actually care about is raising the debt ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing they care about. And you know that because, Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary? I saw a video of her, I think yesterday, where Trump has sent this letter to Fed chairman,
Powell. Yeah. It's in the stack. We're not going to get to it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I'm just going to highlight it here. Trump sent a letter saying, look at all these countries that can borrow more cheaply than the United States. What are you doing? They need to spend the money. And that's because although I think some of these tariff policies and other things have done some good things in the short term, the chicken's going to come home to roost on some of these things.
You know, some of the tariff things, I haven't looked into all the numbers, but that inflation is not being reflected yet.
And I don't know if
I don't know if it's just because of the erratic nature of the tariff policy bouncing all over the place. But there have been a lot of tariffs in effect, and they have taken in a lot of tax money from the tariffs, but we have not seen those price increases come through in the inflation numbers, at least. There are different various items that have increased quite a lot, but it hasn't came through in whatever the basket of goods is that the Fed or that they look out for the inflation numbers. The Jerome Powell thing is another one that is a tricky situation because clearly Trump wants the rate to go down. We're paying a lot to finance this debt. You know, it would save us hundreds of billions of dollars. It would help with this whole how much are we adding to the deficit and the debt if we weren't paying such high interest rates on everything. At the same time, they want to keep inflation down. And we've just like barely kind of tagged that 2% number, not even fully the 2% number, but we just kind of barely came down to it. And what you see in the past is that it's highly likely you come down to it and then you bounce back up off of it afterwards. And so there's good arguments for keeping the rate where it is right now. There's also good arguments for lowering the rate where it is right now. I don't know if Powell hates Trump.
And there's great arguments for just getting rid of the Fed.
Yeah, that's where the best arguments are. And so that's a really good argument too.
There's that third option.
That's something that's probably not going to happen, but I will tell you I don't like the idea of Trump getting rid of Jerome Powell and putting in a guy who's just going to do whatever interest rate Trump says he should do. That is like, you always have to ask yourself, well, would I like that if it were Kamala Harris who was in office, or if it were Joe Biden who was in office, or Gavin Newsom, that the president just gets to dictate what the interest rates are? Now, it's not a whole lot different. We got a Fed board that ends up voting on the interest rates and all that. But at least it's one step removed from a guy who's trying to win a political, an election, who wants to spend a bunch of money and all that, getting to decide what the interest rates are. I think that's where we have to leave it today. Pretty sure we went a little bit a little longer than I thought, but overall, I think it's pretty good stuff. One more little thing here. We asked earlier, is Elon Musk principled? I don't think he's a libertarian. I don't think he aligns with all of our principles. I think he hates this bill. I think he cares about the deficit and the debt. But this post right here,
I think he cares about America going bankrupt.
Yeah, he cares about that.
Which we all should care about.
He actually thinks this wild idea that there is a time where America could fall. There's no historical evidence that something like that could happen
and
whatsoever.
Saying that goes against Caesar.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of does. That's heresy. So
we should crucify him.
So there's a chart going around that Musk took the left-leaning stance on. Almost not the stance, but he posted an emoji, like eyebrow raise emoji. Like, oh, this isn't good. He took an eyebrow raise emoji to the kind of stance that Robert Reich would take on this bill, which is when you look at the distributional effects of the tax cuts and the changes in the transfer payments and all of that. It takes all of that into account. Look at the income quintiles. How is each income quintile affected by this bill? And when you take in the tax cuts, which are leaving the tax rates where they are right now, and then the changes in the transfer payments, like Medicaid and SNAP, getting reduced a little bit. When you look at that distribution, you see that the bottom 20% loses a little bit of income, and the top 20% gains a little bit of income. I say a little bit because even though that bar is really high, that's actually a very small percentage of their income. So they also gain a little bit of income. That's the perk of making it a dollar amount instead of a percentage amount. Look at you being
principled, going after Elon Musk.
So Musk, isn't that weird? So Musk is wrong about this when he acts like this is some sort of thing that's bad about the big, beautiful bill. That is the wrong line of attack. It is an absolute fact that if you cut taxes, that will have a much higher effect on the people who pay the most taxes.
Right.
That is just the way that your calculator is never going to say something else other than that. If you cut taxes for everyone, even if it's the same percentage across the board, it will have a bigger dollar amount effect on the people who pay the most taxes. Likewise, on the flip side, if you decrease transfer payments, welfare payments, Medicaid, SNAP, things like that, that will affect the people who get transfer payments, welfare, Medicaid, SNAP, things like that. It will not affect the top 20 or 1% who are probably not getting a ton of SNAP or Medicaid. And so, yes, when you cut welfare and you cut taxes, it will disproportionately affect the people who receive welfare and the people who pay the most taxes. This is not a surprise. This is just a way that basic math works out, and it's a way that guys like Robert Reich, socialists, want to use that to say that's the bad part about this bill. But any bill that we would support that cuts taxes and cuts welfare will look like this every single time. The people who get the welfare payments are going to lose welfare payments. The people who pay most taxes are going to pay less taxes. That's what this chart says. That's all it says. So he's absolutely wrong about that.
Wow, so much we put in one episode.
It's a lot of stuff.
Love for Trump, hate for Trump. Love for Musk, hate for Musk.
Just principles.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing here.
Again, we don't care about
consistent every single time.
We don't care about the person. What are the ideas? What are the principles? If you enjoyed